Yes, I'm still here, Hollywood. And coming up on today's episode... What has Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker meant to your career?
You know, these two boys, back in the day, they were boys, and it is because the fact that their chemistry was so good. There's such audience that accept, them as a partner, on screen, right? So we all benefited.
Do you get angry when you go into a film and they might not know what they should or what would make it better as an Asian film?
If I have something to say, for example, like the set, I've seen more Qing Dynasty paintings on a set on a continuous basis for a lot of times. I say, you know what? In an Asian household, you would never find this painting in an Asian household.
How often do you get back to Hong Kong?
I like to get back more often than not. So right now, I not as much because I'm not quite sure how the president of China feels about me.
There are faces that are ingrained in the film and television world. Legendary actors seemingly omnipresent all over the big and small screen. They may not all have household names, but if there is such a thing, they have household faces. This is Still Here Hollywood. I'm Steve Kmetko. Join me with today's guest from Rush Hour and many more, Tzi Ma. If you'd like to be more involved with us at Still Here Hollywood, you definitely can. Just visit patreon.com/stillherehollywood. You can support us for as little as $3 a month. Then you can see who our upcoming guests will be and submit questions for them. You can even tell us what stars you want us to have on as guests. You'll also get exclusive behind-the-scenes info, pics, video, and more. Again, that's patreon.com/stillherehollywood. Ty, thanks for stopping by. Let's start over.
You know what? Let me see. That might be an interesting take, right? Strapping by.
Strapping on. First of all, what I want to know, Ty, is how do you live in Los Angeles and not drive?
Well, I don't really live in Los Angeles.
Oh, you don't?
I mean, I do, but I spend so much time outside of Los Angeles, so I'm comfortable, not to do that. I don't, because this is kind of a headquarters where you go all points after that, everywhere else, and pretty much literally everywhere, but LA.
Where do you live normally on a day-to-day basis?
At the moment, I spend most of my time in Vancouver.
Oh,
yeah, Canada.
Beautiful city.
A lovely city, and it's an exciting city. And I think we had just have a conversation with Francesca that it is a city that's well planned. It's very healthy.
Right. I went up there once to do a story on how production was leaving L.A. and going up to Vancouver because so many shows were being shot up there. And all I can remember is that it was so clean. Yes. It was as though Disney ran the city. Their theme parks are always so clean.
Yeah.
You were born in Hong Kong, raised in New York.
That's correct.
Live in Vancouver now.
Yes.
Can you compare those cities?
Let's
For
see.
me, do pros and cons?
Absolutely. I mean, Hong Kong is a interesting remembrances because I left at a very young age. So today's Hong Kong is very different from the Hong Kong that I knew, right? So Hong Kong is absolutely a modern metropolis. Okay, New York City is an old metropolis, and Vancouver is a fairly new city comparing to New York and Hong Kong. I love to visit New York. Hong Kong is another city that you want to visit. And living there is because it's so densely populated, space is so limited, so it's a little harder. And it's Hong Kong is not that culturally aware, So I prefer to visit New York and live in Vancouver and visit Hong Kong, visit L.A., I don't want to spend so much time in L.A. because, the air quality is a little bit harder to take for my sinuses and my eyes.
I noticed that coming in this time. And I know that there's a wildfire out there in Ventura County or something.
Yes.
But I was here when they did a mass cleanup of the air. and it made a big difference in the 80s, in the
Yeah.
early 80s. I can remember going for bike rides and my lungs hurting afterwards
Yes.
because of everything you were breathing in.
That's
Anyway,
right. Yeah, it's not great for that. Get on a treadmill
yes.
indoors with
Yes.
air conditioning.
And with something to distract you, like a television.
Yes.
Ty, how did you get into acting?
Let's see. I'm the youngest child, of a family of 7 actually, but 5 surviving, and I was the youngest, so I was the entertainment because we had a family restaurant. Everybody worked, including me. I was the dishwasher, on a soapbox because I wasn't tall enough. Right? Child labor law didn't mean anything in our restaurant.
Yeah.
So everybody had to pull their weight. And since everybody worked so hard, I like to cheer them up. I would, maybe put a scarf, around my head and then, hello, Or I put a cowboy hat and put and they used to have, really fake 6-shooters, right? So I would act, for the family. So I think that was the early beginnings of it. And then I was very fortunate in junior high school. There were 2 teachers that are really prominent, I feel, that shaped me, in acting. One was an algebra teacher, Mr. Goodman, and one's an art teacher named Mrs. Harper. Both of them are Broadway enthusiasts. So they would bring the class to Broadway, like Ethel Merman, Pearl Bailey.
No
all
kidding.
these, fascinating,
Legends.
Absolutely legends. I mean, Ethel was amazing, Annie Get Your Gun, and then so they were so in love with that Broadway. Said, let's start a drama club. So in junior high school, there was a drama club. I said, wow, this is kind of fun, and also it takes the kind of racism off the edge of it. Because in junior high school, that is the event of the year, the school play, right? So when I first went to junior high school, had all kinds of problems. People, being what they are, pull their eyes back, saying derogative sayings and, like grab the loose leaf and yank it and have paper flying everywhere and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? I need to do something about that because I have to fight back, first of all, which drove my mother crazy. I went home one day with my shirt all ripped with blood everywhere and goes, oh, my son, she just freaked out. I said, you know what? I can't put her through this trauma. Let me figure something out. So the drama club was my way out of that quote-unquote racism because the first play I did was Annie Get Your Gun, and I played Buffalo Bill.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I had my hair gray and I had my, 10-gallon hat, my cowboy boots and everything. And at first, when I first stepped on the stage, everybody laughed. The entire audience cracked up. Ah, blah, 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 whatever they would say. I had the loudest applause at the end because they said, man, that's Buffalo Bill. Wow. And that really helped me survive junior high school times.
Which is tough for everybody, just about.
Of course. All the hormones are raging, stuff like that. And it kind of stuck with me. I said, wow, this is great. I'm having so much fun. And all the girls I'm meeting, why not? Why not be part of the drama club, right? So
What has been the greatest obstacle you've faced in your career?
Obstacle is overrated. I always look at obstacles as something that is a challenge, but it has to be overcome, right? You can give into it and say, oh my God, all these stereotyping and I got to do this, I got to do that. I said, wait a second, just a minute. You don't got to do anything. You make your choice, right? So you feel that that is a choice you make, that you got to do it, then that's your choice. I don't fault you for doing it. I wish you didn't. But, because you're perpetuating something we probably have to fight against most of our lives, in the business, right? Because, a lot of times it's a little easier now because of Google, I guess, because you can do research, right? Back in the day, you got to go to the library and do microfiche. Go to, oh my God, okay, that's what's that. So really, in that sense, there are always obstacles, but whether or not you're going to rise up to the occasion and say, that's a great idea. You see this story. You said this guy's name is Vin, which is Vietnamese, and he actually is being pursued by the Tongs, which is the criminal element in Chinese, and he left from Cambodia. Who is he? So everybody, all the writers in the room are going like, oh yeah, we don't know. I said, you know what? I have an idea. He is ethnic Chinese Vietnamese. Most of the boat people are ethnic Chinese Vietnamese. So hence Vin, right? So reason why they left from Cambodia because they had to travel to Cambodia to leave to points elsewhere. And they landed in Chinatown in America. And so since he's ethnic Chinese, he was being pursued by the Chinese Tong because they did not really accept him as a Chinese person because his name is Vin. He's from Vietnam. He said, you're from Vietnam, So I said, does that make your story work a little better? Oh, yeah, good idea. Let's do that. So really, you have to take, the opportunity, there's always danger in opportunity, right? So you listen to it, you find it, and you said, okay, let me see what I can offer. As a creative contributor, you can be two kind of actors. You can be a puppet. You can do everything everybody tell you, do this, do that, say this line here, go over there, do that. Okay, fine, that's all good, right? It works. If it works for you, great. I like to be a little bit more of a contributing side.
How often have you found yourself on the side of educating the writers or the producers or?
Back in the day, almost everyone.
Really?
Because back in the day, it was hard to do research. So what do they do, right? They go to Blockbuster. They go to Blockbuster and they rent all of these quote-unquote Asian-themed stories. And they throw it together, right? Because, you as a writer, you have an assignment, right? Producer said, okay, we're going to do an Asian episode. Uh-oh, I have no Asian friends. I don't know anything about the culture. I'm stuck, right? Because we know that most of the Writers Guild of America are white male, middle-aged white male, period, back in the day, right? There are very few women writers, very ethnic writers. Forget it. They don't even exist back in the day, right?
People of color.
Of course. So what happens is they got to go to Blockbuster. That was their resource, right? So I understand their plight because I have a lot of writer friends. So I said, oh, my God, they pull out their hair, trying to figure out what to do. So I try to help them too, so they don't have to go to their boss and go, well, I came up with this, but it's really terrible. Yeah.
Now, the series of Rush Hour films you made, very successful.
Yes.
I've seen you interviewed and you called it special.
Yes.
How so?
Well, it's the first time where you have two leads of color. You have a black man and an Asian man. Usually salt and pepper. You have a white guy and a black guy, right? So, like the whatever those Beverly Hills Cops and all of those is always that combination. That's the first time where they cast an Asian and an African American as leads in a film. So that made it historical. And that's why I say that's special. And the combination, it's like it became the best babysitter in the room. Because, when you can't afford a babysitter, you pop in a tape of Rush Hour because it's funny. And there's a little girl in it. The little girl singing Mariah Carey. So kids love it. So I still make a lot of money from Rush Hour.
That's good.
It's very popular.
That's a good thing. What has Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker meant to your career?
These two boys, back in the day, they were boys, and it is because the fact that their chemistry was so good. There's such audience that accept, them as a partner, on screen, right? So we all benefited, right? Especially when I'm Consul Han and Ambassador Han later, and I'm their boss. So, and then the little girl really helps. So all of that really is a combination, and they are so loose on the set. I mean, you're talking about Rush Hour 1, you have some great cast. You got Tom Wilkinson and you got me, you have all of these veterans. And that's in some ways, that's the brilliance of Brett Ratner in that sense. Because he was a new director. I think he directed one film and music videos. So his set is like a music video set. It's like, and what he did was that, you know what, I'm going to support these boys from all these veteran actors. Everywhere they turn, they have a veteran playing against. So you can only do the scene as good as your scene partner, right? You can't do the scene by yourself. So I think in that sense, I have to give some credit to Brett.
Do you ever get angry? You seem to have a really good attitude in how you're viewing this. Do you get angry when you go into a film and they might not know what they should or what would make it better as an Asian film?
I do, but I usually try to take it to the side because there are a lot of people involved in a film set, in a TV set. I don't want to, and I've known actors that would do that. They'll just go really angry because they're so passionate about what they do, right? And say, you know what? The whole set is tense. Everybody's upset. I said, if I have something to say, for example, like the set, I've seen more Qing Dynasty paintings on a set on a continuous basis for a lot of times. I said, you know what? In an Asian household, you would never find this painting in an Asian household, only if you were a foreigner. Otherwise, you wouldn't be interested in a guy in a Qing Dynasty costume, right? So I would say, you know what? Hey, let me talk to you a little bit about this. Do you know what this is? That is a Qing emperor, right? The Qings are Manchurians, right? Manchurians are conquerors. They actually took over China. They are foreigners, in the Chinese eyes. So you would definitely never see this painting in a Chinese apartment in present day. You might see a Van Gogh, you might see a Picasso, and you will never see bamboo curtains. You will see all these fancy World War, like electric, curtains and stuff. So in that sense, you kind of make sense, right? If it makes sense, because it's their work. Their name is going to be, say, I'm the production designer. I'm the set designer. So next thing you know, say, oh, wow, dude, that is terrible. That's kind of racist, it's kind of stereotype, right? So you try to do that.
So you bring a lot to the set as an actor, but you also come to a set, do you find, frequently as a teacher?
That's an interesting question. I used to be much freer with my opinion. I don't do that as much today because it takes time. So now I need to know if you're worth it. Because it just takes a lot of energy, I mean, you see someone and say, okay, well, guess what? We're gonna talk about this, and this, and that, and then you say, okay, well, that didn't happen, right? So I need to know that you have some kind of a passion. I need to know that you're sincere about what you're asking me, or you're not just saying something for the heck of it, right? So I'm a little more cautious, and I'm gentler today. I used to be a tough ass. Tough love was where I started, and I said, that is not a good approach, because actors are fragile. You really need to create an environment where they feel safe, right? So back in the day, because I used to do a lot of workshops, people would say, oh, teach, help us. I said, okay, fine. I could only do workshops because I'm too busy, I'm working. So only like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6-week workshop. That's it. Okay, we're done. And I used to be on top of them because I know the business is tough. I want them to be tough. I said, what is that? What are you doing? But then I said, wait a second. I have reassessed that way of teaching. Now I approach it much gentler. So.
It's a tough business to survive in when all is working in your favor. Do you find a lot of people try to typecast you?
Yeah, I mean, but Hollywood is always that way. They always got blinders on. Whatever works is what they want because it's this lot of money involved, right? I don't blame them. They can say, hey, he's good dramatic, man, but dramatic actor. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's just more tears, more this, more drama, more, you know. But, I could do a lot of things, right? I said, but, for you, I understand, I try to vary my roles. I try to find auditions, I try to find things, or play it a different way, where they think this is really serious, and then I'll try to find some humor in it, try to find the lighter side, just try to find something, because I want to be a creative participant. I want to be a creative contributor. I don't want to sit around and for you to tell me what to do. Let me try that. If it doesn't work, fine, it's okay. You learn through the years, that the ego gets in the way. Forget the ego, right? Just listen, have an open ear, most important. Open ear is the most important, more than the eyes. When you listen, it's a whole different world.
Have you ever seen a Charlie Chan film?
I have.
And what do you think?
Well,
I hope I'm not offending you.
no, not at all. Because it's a victim of circumstance, right? Yellow face, and not and matter of fact, there's a change, right? In the beginning, there was always this kind of the quote unquote tall, dark, handsome Latin lover. They were not villains, but it changed because the world politics changed, right? Then then war got involved, So then they became all villainous. And also the Eurocentric view of what Asians are, who we are, and that came from Europe. All the Fu Manchus and all of those things are influencing the young country, the USA. So you see the genesis, you see the change. And you should be a history student. You should look at these things and say, why did they happen? And some people say, yeah, but man, I can't believe they did this. And we say, guess what? They want to be actors. That was the only opportunity they had. So take it easy. It's okay. These changes happen. Change is the only constant. Constant, nothing else. Change, you expect change. Expect change.
It should be easier for us to deal with change than it is.
Well, it's a sigh. What am I going to do, right?
Right.
Yes.
Asian American movies have become so mainstream. What has that journey felt like?
It was long. Let's say that. First of all, the stories were a little bit, a little dry, But you know what? They were new. These are new writers. They never had an opportunity to write a movie about yourself, right? So there are a lot of growing pains. But now you look at the stuff that is doing, like Interior Chinatown. This show is going to drop in Hulu in November. Man, that show is extraordinary, and that kind of, you can see the journey from where we started, of this kind of very dry, very standard, kind of story, right? To a show like Interior China, which encompasses, literally, there's something for everybody, So now you kind of go, we have arrived, really, really arrived, because now the creativity is boundless. Before it was very restricting. You have to find things to break out, find things to make it different, find things to make it compelling, So I had to work a lot harder back in the day. So now I can relax a little bit and watch all this wonderful young talent coming up the pipeline. Now there's an opportunity for them to shine. They've always been there. It's just that there were no pipeline. Talent pool was there, no pipeline into the system. So now there are.
Did you see the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I have.
And what did you think?
I thought it was a little bit self-indulgent, but it had met much success, obviously. Thank you. I appreciate it. But you know what? It's an experiment. People tried. That's never been done before. And that genre is most important, that we have never been in that genre, period. sci-fi, that type of story. And hey, doesn't mean every time you come out it's a grand slam, okay? Cut the people some slack. And it's okay to admit it's not as good. It's okay. They will grow. These writers are going to be great because they were allowed to do something. I thought they were a little too repetitive, and also to because they wanted to pay tribute to the Hong Kong martial arts cinema, right? I said, if that's your mission, then there needs to be more variation in the fights. Right now, I thought the fights were repetitive. So, but everybody did the best they could. So, hey, get over it. It's all good.
Do you feel obligated to convince them?
Convince who?
Convince the filmmakers.
No, I don't think so. I think they're wise. They're bright people. This business have a lot of smart people. Like the guy who wrote Interior Chinatown. He was supposed to be a lawyer. He was a lawyer. What are you talking about? He went to law school. He was actually a lawyer. He said, wait a second. That's not my calling, man. I like to write. So he wrote a book. He wrote a novel, called Interior Chinatown. So then he adapted that book, for Hulu, and he's also the showrunner, right? So I don't think, there is, everybody have their journey. You have to let them do it. Because otherwise, then you kind of, you're depriving them of their experience, of getting, I think that's the most important thing, cumulative experiences. That's important.
What's the best experience you've had since becoming an actor and working on film?
I think the most rewarding thing for an actor today is to be able to play roles that of unique and really just unique human beings. You get a chance to play these characters that are special. If they were Japanese, they would be national living treasures. And I've had quite a few of those opportunities. And it's really heartwarming because you get a chance to meet them. And you sit down with someone who is legendary, in the world stage. Like, for example, The Quiet American, the character Hing. It's actually a composite character of two characters, right? But in history, they could have been one, because Graham Greene was a spy. So he wrote The Quiet American as a novel. But everything in that book, those guys exist, right? So I had a chance to meet General Un, and he was Hing, triple agent, never caught. Worked for the French, worked for the North, worked for the South, worked for the Americans. Okay, never caught.
Talented guy.
Amazing, and a student of history. You go to his house, wall-to-wall books, all about history, and a romantic. That you don't expect, right? So you meet these people and you're gaining insight. Now I can add that element into that character because he was a romantic. He almost married an American woman. He fell in love with an American woman who lived in, I think, like San Jose or something. He followed her to America. And finally he realized that, what? Country first. You see, now that's man of character. He said, yes, I could have stayed in America, be a lover to this woman that I love, but my country's falling apart. I got to go back and help. That's extraordinary. I wish there were more of them right now, today. Country first. Without country, there's no home. Okay? So it's always in the Chinese is guo ga. Guo is the country. Ga is home. Country comes first. So you have to have a country. You have to have a democracy before you can even have a home. And while you're wondering how much bread costs, because you may not even get a bread. I may tell you if you can get a bread or not. Come on, weigh the difference.
We'll be back in a moment. How often do you get back to Hong Kong?
I like to get back more often than not. So right now, I not as much, because I'm not quite sure how the president of China feels about me.
What are some of the biggest movies and TV shows you've been in?
Big in how? What is the definition of big?
Audience?
Oh, let's see. Obviously, 24 is huge, right? And that character is pretty interesting, because he's basically the mirror image of Jack. It's just that, depends on what angle you're looking at, right? So that's a really popular show. The Farewell, surprisingly, independent film that big in success. Rush Hour, needless to say, very popular still, you know. The Quiet American, underrated. Totally, that movie almost did not even meet the world because 9/11. Because that's anti-American. You can't show this anywhere. So, and thank Michael Caine for that. He just said no. He said, I'm supposed to do another movie for you. At least you got to give it the best try. You have to put it into Toronto Film Festival. At least let people see it, and then we could make the decision. So in terms of audience, like for TV, I would say those are some, and hopefully Interior Challenge will top all of that because that show has that much interest for everybody.
You're high on that, aren't you?
Oh my goodness sake, really. It is truly a unique show. I mean, I anything that I tell you would be a giveaway, right?
Oh.
No, really.
No spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just one of those shows where, let's see what the best way to describe it in my terms. I mean, not necessarily what they would think it is. I think it's like Lost, the Upside Down in the Truman Show.
Yeah.
That's how I would think.
Wrap my head around that.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Rush Hour, your daughter is kidnapped. Where did you find that emotion?
Well, I was the youngest, so I am the all hands on deck guy. All my nieces, I tell you, I pretty much, I tell my nieces, I know everything about you. I change your diapers, I wiped you clean, I fed you, So I am in touch with I'm the all-time babysitter, so I'm in touch with children a lot, So I get in touch with that feeling, how to nurture someone, how to protect them, with the pain, the loss that you feel when they no longer all of a sudden disappears from your life. So you do everything in your power to get them back. So that's how it works. And then my nieces go, Mama, I say, I know everything about you. I change your diapers. So I'm in touch. Although I'm not a dad, but I am the perfect dad because I do a lot of stuff with because the family, there's Chinese family. That's how it works, right? You help out, right? Say, okay, we got to go to the restaurant. Okay, Ivy needs to change. You need to change his diaper. Okay, fine. It's like I got to. Okay, man, dude, that's nasty. So that's how I'm in touch with that.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your history with Jackie?
Jackie is funny. Jackie, he's really smart. When we were doing Rush Hour 1, he was worried about his son, because he's always doing something, and he's in a lot of pain because he's a consummate stuntman to begin with. In first place, he is a stuntman first, actor second. He loves stunts.
Really?
Yes, he go to a set. The first thing he does, he look around the set and he goes, what can I jump off that? Can I break this? Can I go here? That's how his mind works, right? And he's quite wise. He were talking about another actor that had a lot of work done, and he goes,
You mean surgical work done?
Yes. And he just said, what's wrong with aging? The fact that you're lucky enough to live this long. Okay, I didn't expect that from Jackie Chan, right? So he's very generous, really generous guy. It's always like because he, and he likes to eat well, He's and really healthy stuff. His stunt guys, they come and he cook, and make it in his trailer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good man. I like him.
What has he meant to Asian films in general?
I think on the positive side, he's so popular. He's a Buster Keaton, right? I mean, he is amazing, the things that he can do, right? The confusion part of it is that they confuse all the Asian actors are not Asian American actors. So there is a difference, right? Where If you keep on hiring Asian actors, then Asian American actors don't get to work, you know. And we bring different things to the table, right? Because they are culturally influenced in the East. Our influence is the West. You know, we grew up here, so we're much more Western than Eastern, you know. So I had to learn to be Eastern because I play so many foreigners. So I said, you know what? I got to get better at this, you know. So I became a student of the East.
How did you learn that?
Well, first of all, I have to credit my parents because they said, in the house, no English. You have to speak Chinese. He said, because you're going to speak English outside. He said, if I encourage you like my nieces now, none of them speak Chinese. Because the parents are a little more lenient, right? Another second gen, right? Go ahead, it's okay, speak English. It's all right. They know no Chinese. No, the culture is like so far removed from them, right? But my parents said, no. When you're in the house, you speak Chinese. You learn the way we do things. When you go out there, you learn the way they do things, and you're going to survive in that world, you adapt that. So I have them to think about that.
It sounds to me that like you've had a career that you want and a career that's you've made successful, but it sounds like so much work.
Oh, I don't mind the work.
See, I do.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. It's fun to dig deeper. You know, it's definitely surfaceable when you do it without going deeper. It's okay. It works, right? Much more interesting when you go deeper. Then there are nuances that other actors are not going to think about. And yeah.
How often do you get back to Hong Kong?
I like to get back more often than not. So right now, I not as much because I'm not quite sure how the president of China feels about me. Because there's some very wise, some person had put my picture next to his. He said, he should play Xi Jinping. He looks just like him, which I disagree. But that's out there now. And I think we had some issues when we were trying to promote Mulan in China. And I think I was they kind of erase you. What is that called? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Yeah, they photoshopped me out. But there was an interesting Hong Kong artist took a different angle to it. He would create illustrations instead of the person itself. So he would like create illustrations of the father and Mulan together in illustration. So he was able to promote Mulan in Hong Kong that way, right? So Hong Kong was tough because I really don't know how Xi Dai, which is what they call Uncle Xi, how he feels about me. I hope it's in good light because I think I portrayed him very well because I think I played him in a couple of comedies like Veep, you know, and you never hear him speak English. So I actually spoke English in the show and pretended he didn't. And he had an interpreter all the time, you know. But meanwhile, he knows exactly what they talk. You know, Julia was it's funny. It's so funny to show, you know. In the meantime, he understands everything, right? So I thought that would do him some justice. So we'll see. We don't know. We don't know if it's, you know. I'll just be a little more cautious.
And we'll be right back. Did you enjoy working on Veep?
Oh my God, so much fun. So much fun. There's nothing like working with that group of people. You know, they're so talented, so funny. And every scene, at the end of every scene, we improv. Every scene at the end of the scene, we improv. Yeah, it's a joy.
And do they ever use that?
Of course, a lot of it. A lot of it. They just said, yeah, we like that. We just put that in, you know.
Was improv part of your learning process to become an actor?
I came from the theater, you know? So yes, absolutely. I mean, and back in the day, while I was, you know, a young actor in theater in New York, it's the most exciting thing ever. You get to experiment. There's all kinds of theaters. Everybody's improvising, adapting. You know, hey, let's do Peking opera in English. Let's adapt that whole story and translate it. You know, you had all these exciting writers who are up and coming, and people like so off the top of my head, I mean, La Mama is a great place. It's an experimental theater where we try everything, right? I'm not shy, I've been, I've been butt naked on stage. It's all good. Everything's fine. Nudity, everything's cool, right? Because it was a time where there was a lot of money around, a lot of funding. National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for Humanity, New York State, has money. So it was really, you can actually make a living doing theater.
Well, there's always people who pay you to take your clothes off.
Well,
Joke.
I wouldn't take that as a giving, but a lot of money. No, just I don't know. Same thing, man. It's like a pot of coffee. Good. Okay, I'm doing it.
That's brave. Mm-hmm. Can you walk down the streets without being recognized?
Probably not. They're all for different things too. It depends on where I am. It's kind of weird that way, but most of the time is rush hour for sure. That's probably the most common, and there are people who say, oh yeah, Aquila and the Bee, and say, yeah, okay. And then, different things. It's just 24, you win 24, So, yeah, Kung Fu, you're in Kung Fu, it's like, okay.
Wu Assassins.
Wu Assassins is another one. That's a little interesting kind of a show, and a great showrunner, so it's good stuff.
With all the martial arts films you've been involved with, have you ever been hurt?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, not as bad as Jackie, because I'm smart enough to have a double, but you can't help it. You do that kind of stuff, and it took me a long time to even be involved in a martial arts film. I used to have rules for myself. I said, okay, rules to be a bad guy. Okay, number one, the hero must be Asian or Asian American. Number two, there are no Asian American or Asian women victimized. Number three, there's a good and evil of my race in the same screen at the same time. Those are my three rules. Then I can be the baddest mofo you can find,
Do they pretty much listen to you in that regard?
No, but the thing is that you don't have to say yes. I mean, most of the time back in the day, it's usually, some Asian women are violated, and then a white hero comes in and saves the day, right? So, and then they're in bed together in the next scene. I said, I don't think so. That's unrealistic, and I can't be part of that, right? So the first really major bad guy role I did was Rapid Fire, and was Brandon Lee was the hero, Bruce Lee's son. And he was also the romantic hero. He gets the girl at the end, which almost, back in the day, even today, hardly you will see an Asian male in a romantic setting. Rarely, right? But that's also changing, like Five Blind Dates I just did. So, rom-com, where there were quite a few hot Asian male involved is in romantic situation. You can find a hot Asian male, but they're not in romantic situations, right? So that was a breakthrough too in itself, right? And Asian Australian woman wrote that. So that was the first too. So I love these things. I love to work with people who are ready to make their mark, And if I can lend my name to it, and help you get to the next step, I'll be happy to do it,
That's generous of you.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun.
What's the one thing that changed the trajectory of your career?
Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one. I have to think about that. I think it started from the beginning, I think. I did my first film called Cocaine Cowboy. It's like a cult classic now.
Andy Warhol was in that, wasn't he?
Andy Warhol, Jack Palance, and it was about this punk rock band. It was a drug smugglers. So they said, okay. He said, well, there's a role as the cook. And then my favorite mentor, Marco, used to say, if you're gonna play a cook, might as well be a cook. So I said, So I said, okay, fine. I go to the audition. I said, listen, do me a favor. And so he's a cook, right? He said, yes. He said, what if happens if he's the best friend? What if he's also the bodyguard? What if he's all of these things? So I pulled a Bruce Lee on them. So I jumped up and I put a hole in the ceiling. You're hired. This is a great idea. That's a great idea. So I was the cook, I was the bodyguard, and I also the best friend. So I mean, you kind of used that changes everything because it's like, hey man, this guy can do this, this, and that. Let's get him to try to do this. Let's try to get him to do that. So I think it started right from the beginning. Try to create that kind of a attitude for myself, right? And also, I don't say yes to everything. I think that's a bad advice, I think, for young actors, personally.
You've made it a habit of not taking any roles that are demeaning.
Yeah, I mean, I refuse roles that are not salvageable because there are not a lot of good scripts around, So you have to be realistic. You have to look at the script and say, what can I save? How do I salvage the script? And then if I have, A, B, C, D, E, and I will go in and say, okay, I'm going to do it this way. So I always do the first take the way I do it. They may hate it. Ty, that's bold choice, but wrong. Can you do it another way? Oh, sure. Of course I can. But the first one, I want them to see it. And if it hits, it was like a boom. They said, wow, we like that. The 100 actors that came in before, they did exactly the same thing except him. So I said, cool. Then I get a chance to do what I love to do is to be a creative contributor, right? So because right out of the gate, they respect you, right? So if they don't, they don't. I've been into the things that say, oh, no, we don't want to do it that way. I say, okay, well, thank you for the opportunity, but I don't think I'm the right actor for you. But hopefully next time, we shake hands and say goodbye. It's okay.
What would you tell your younger self about Hollywood if you could go back?
If I could go back and I said, Tzi Ma, look in the mirror and look at your heart and said, is this what you want to do? If the answer is wishy-washy, don't do it. Don't even start. But if the answer said, man, I love this shit, I got to do this. Boom, full steam ahead. Leave nothing behind, just go. Just go for it.
Do you have the opportunity to talk to other young Asian actors, actresses? They're all actors now.
All actors. And of any color. Because I do, some workshops. And not necessarily all AAPIs. Not necessarily. There are some stragglers that come in and go, can I take your class? And say, yes, you can. I mean, that would be discrimination, right? If I don't do that. And I said, please come. And I feel that there is a difference in terms of teachers that don't know about you, right? And they say, oh, no, that scene, you just did, it's like a little too much, a little too little. And I said, what's too much and what's too little? That drives me crazy when they say, oh, do more, do less. What? What does that mean? I don't know what that means, right? So really, in that sense, because you have to understand the culture, that you react particularly if you're Japanese, you're Korean, if you're Chinese, you're Vietnamese, you're Cambodian. All of those things, you really have to be in your back pocket. You got to know. Chinese bow with their head from their neck up. Japanese bow from the waist. So you have to know these little subtleties. You can't just go, oh, because they will tell you, hey, can you bow here? And say, no, not really. Can you get on your knees? No, if he's Chinese, he will not get on his knees. You're Japanese, you'll be on your knees all day, right? So you really have to, you learn, and really you shouldn't be that difficult because these are your resources. These are your friends. These are your Asian American acting community. Of course, because, hey, Amy, man, Amy Hill, what is that about, man? I said, how can you say Satun, that, because we can't say the TH. Oh, I get it. So now you adapt, right? So you're much more finite, right? You don't just do generic, right? Which is uninteresting, first of all. Second is, kind of stereotypical. Right?
What does someone like Shohei Ohtani do for the Asian American community in his capacity as a baseball player.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No.
This guy is like, he's a freak. He, he is so fucking talented. Oh my God. You know, I mean, just his presence, you know, his skills, you know, in American society, that's what we respect, that's what we see. So in that sense, it's a bridge, you know, where we can bridge gaps, you know. And I hope he's recovered from his injury.
Yeah, he had surgery after the World
Yeah,
Series.
because see, it's commitment, right? So he committed. He said, he's always fall out, you know. And if you're looking at the finer things, then you understand this guy's got character. You know, look at look at the passion and the commitment that he puts into his work, and we should all do that. You know, well, why do it then if you're not going to be
If you're not committed to it.
Absolutely, and passionate about it. So, you know, this guy's all right.
I think so too.
Yeah, he's amazing. Wow, I know the stuff that he can do. Man, he's a pitcher and a home run hitter. How do you do that? You know, you're throwing the ball this way and you're hitting. How does that work, man? You know? Yes, he's special.
Yeah, he
another special guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Thanks, Ty.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I hope some young actor can get a chance to play him. You know, because they'll tell his story. I guarantee it.
He's got a great story.
Yes, absolutely.
And he likes his dog.
Yeah, that's it. See, you see what I mean? So, you know, some lucky young actor down the road, man, is going to get played Shohei Ohtani.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. Yes, sir.
Nice meeting you.
My pleasure. Likewise.
Still Here Hollywood is a production of the Still Here Network. All things technical run by Justin Zangerly. Theme music by Brian Sanashin. And executive producer is Jim Lichtenstein.